Welcome to BofC Live, the daily video and podcast series of Business of Cannabis. BofC Live highlights the company's brands, people, and trends driving the global cannabis sector. Learn more at businessofcannabis.ca. Our guest today on BofC Live is David Wasserman. He's an associate consultant with the CannDelta team, the official regulatory advisory of Business of Cannabis, talking about, is this still an okay time to think about opening a cannabis retail store? Good morning, David Wasserman from CannDelta. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. This is your first time on BofC Live. Welcome on a Tuesday morning after a long weekend here in Ontario. I will say that it's a good morning because the kids are back at school.
Yeah, always good when that happens. Thank you for having me.
It's better than them being behind this wall, grade one happening. So thank you for being here. Obviously, you're with the CannDelta team. We like to connect with the CannDelta team a lot because there's always a lot happening. And on the regulatory side, you guys are the experts, and science too. I wanted to check in with you today about cannabis retail, maybe even specifically in Ontario, and a question we are getting asked a lot in our sort of retail focus and what we're doing. And that is it too late to become a cannabis retailer? What do you say to those people, David Wasserman?
Well, as a short answer, no, there's plenty of room. Right now, we have not yet even close to hit capacity. In Ontario, there's still lots of room. They're saying that basically the carrying capacity for retail stores is about 1,500 in the province. And we just hit the milestone of 420, right, which they've been spreading this week. A good number for the industry.
I love it when the government makes 420 cracks, or gives you a how-to of how to use hash, and it's coming from a government source. I just think it's really a great time to be alive.
Oh yeah, would have never anticipated this, even 10 years ago.
Right, or even 3 years ago. And even when the OCS sort of launched, they weren't doing how-to guides or what it meant. It was just, it's just flour, right, at that point. But so not too late, but do you have a sense of I know maybe a couple months ago, the Ontario Cannabis Store came out with a graph that said, legal sales are going up, illicit sales are going down. That seems to be a good trend for retailers, obviously, or maybe that is because of the retailers.
Well, I think it's for both. So the first thing is, when they first legalized recreational cannabis in Canada, people were a little skeptical. They're used to, I've always gotten it from my guy. What's the government stuff going to be like? Is it going to be as good? Is it going to be as accessible, or am I going to be logged in some government book somewhere? But people's opinions have changed. And in fact, as of quite recently, as of Q3 of 2020, actually, as you'll see over here, the amount that Canadians are spending on legal recreational cannabis has actually surpassed that of the illicit recreational cannabis. So it's about 52% of the market right now is legal sales, where, back when cannabis was first legalized for recreational use, October 17th, 2018, wasn't that far, it wasn't that long ago. It was 0%. Right. So to go from 0 to over half in, just under 2 years is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of, I used to work in sort of behavior change, right? In marketing campaigns, and how do you get people to change their behavior? It's never fast. It's generally slower than you think it's going to be, but it does happen. And all the things you said, it's about perception and quality and comfort level doing it. And also, I think the introduction of new products certainly helped last year, and sort of thinking about what products will be on the shelves and 2.0 products and all that. And do you have a sense of the relative cost of not necessarily the new products, but a lot of the knock against the legal market was that it was more expensive when it came out, right? And how, do you have a sense of sort of, I guess, average price per gram, which is something we measure a lot, but is that also another factor driving behavior, which is net good for retailers who are opening up?
Right. Well, yes, I believe it is. So again, if you look over here, this is data that was released from the OCS. So this is Ontario. So we modified this graph from them. But when back in Q1 2019, you could see the illicit price, which has been pretty stable at about $8 a gram, was much cheaper. The red line over here you could see is the OCS. They were up at just over $10, and the retail stores were at 12. But as of Q1 of 2020, the OCS has actually been selling per gram cheaper than the illicit market. And the retail stores are on a trend, and they're thinking by the end of 2021, they'll actually be below the illicit price as well. So the price has come down. And there are less and less reasons to not buy legal cannabis. If you look at, well, you said the 2.0 products and even some of the 3.0 that will be coming out, the technology that these companies are putting into their products is truly amazing. Yeah. Recently, just all the new concentrates that, back in the day in the illicit, you were lucky to get, maybe get some hash, maybe you could get some, other concentrates, but now you have a wide variety and selection that you never had before.
I have a wide variety and selection on my desk right here. It seems to me that what you're saying, like there's many trend lines going the right direction for folks to open retail. Talk a little bit about where we are in that process, because we often talk about like the news from the AGCO was like, we're going to approve 960 in 2021. There's going to be this mad rush, and people who are living in Toronto are like, and we've seen a bunch of stories in, now Toronto and a whole bunch of others, like, not in my neighborhood, not in my neighborhood. But this is a vast province, and most of the province has 0 stores. So like the density of that is really what is about to happen, even outside of Toronto. And I think, well, I want to get your sense, is that where you're seeing lots of opportunity for folks to like stake a claim in a piece of land, not whether it's in Toronto or somewhere else that is just underserved, and like grab up that market share?
Oh, definitely. Even within Toronto, where you do have some places where you have stores very close to each other, the stores are still doing pretty well. Like there is a market for it. But yeah, as more and more cities open up, and more municipalities choose to opt in, the opportunities are there. There's these markets that are just begging to have a local source from to go in and have a retail store that they just don't have. So yeah, a lot of small towns too. They're ripe for the picking.
Yeah, no, I believe it. And even nuggets or nuggets, that's funny, or little nooks and crannies of the city as well. Let me ask you a question. Do you have a sense of, like, in Ontario, like the breakdown of like, this many people are buying from the Ontario Cannabis Store, aggregate dollars, this many people are buying from their retailer, whether it's down the street or delivery? Like, is there a breakdown like that the OCS puts out that like tells us that not everybody's buying from the OCS, even though it feels that way?
There is, yeah. So here I actually recompiled some of their data that you could see here. But overall, even though retail stores per gram are selling it about $2-3 more than the OCS, about 85% of the recreational sales in Ontario are to the retail stores. So people don't care that's a little bit more expensive. The benefits of your local retail store just outweigh that, especially if you look at the number of SKUs that are now available, the number of different products. There's over 1,100 in Ontario on the OCS, and it's similar in other provinces. And even somebody who is a veteran of cannabis, who's been using it for years, they come in and they're pretty lost. They have no idea what to do with all these different options, and especially with all these new products. And then you look at people who are newcomers who, maybe aren't as experienced with cannabis, or maybe just starting out, and they have no idea. They just, especially when you go on the OCS website, you just see SKUs and SKUs, and it's just too much choice.
Yeah, it's like and this is by design. I mean, they have all the SKUs, right? So it's sort of an antiseptic environment where you have to find your own thing. Whereas all the retailers have really interesting approaches, whether even it's online of sort of curating products, but certainly when they have been open, or even when you contact them by email or some other way, it is that sort of touch point that is super valuable. And obviously people are finding it valuable just based on the breakdown of sales between the OCS and the retailers, which actually brings us back to something that we've talked to folks in the CannDelta team about a lot, which is that interaction between the store and the customer, especially with new customers. Like, how do you actually train that? So much is riding on that bud tender interaction. It's really amazing. And I think as, you know, we're at 1,100 SKUs, I think you said, like, as more come out, it just becomes more important. Like the emphasis on this bud tender experience and training and like the personal touch is like absolutely key to success.
Oh, definitely. Like, yeah, your secret weapon is your bud tenders. It's your customer service that's going to keep people coming back. You know, people come for the experience. At the same time, you can't make all these medical claims. There's lots of things you can't say. And, you know, you can't induce people to come in and to walk out with more than they expected to buy. So actually, going to briefly plug, we do at CannDelta have a smart tended training where we do offer some of this, where we teach bud tenders, you know, what you can and can't say, as well as a lot of the regulatory stuff and some tips of basically how to connect with your customers. You can find out more information on our website. I won't try to advertise too much to that.
There's going to be a link when we post it, you know, when it's on our website anyway. No, but it's like, and it's fine. Like this is, you know, a lot of the retailers of the next 600 or 700 that are coming online, many of them are new to the business. Many of them are new to retail. Some of them are new to cannabis. Some of them are new to cannabis retail, and like understanding all the nuance of this, but also it's difficult to overstate the importance of that bud tender interaction, similar to going into a store. I mean, I've heard someone describe it as like going into David's Tea when David's Tea was around. There's like so many teas, you have no idea what you want, but that's why the interaction with David's Tea was so important, because I want caffeinated or not. I like this flavor versus that flavor. This is what I want, how I want to feel. Like all those things, people just don't know. And that is the challenge, right, of the buying experience. But that is, of course, the opportunity for retailers, which is where you guys come in.
Definitely. Yeah. Again, choice is great. And again, even 5 years ago, who would think of a legal variety, you would have this much different types of cannabis, all this variety available. You know, with the illicit market, you can have this one or this one or this one, maybe, if you're lucky. Right.
So I this has been a great conversation, and thank you for sharing that data and insights, because I think that's, you know, those trend lines are going in the right direction. The trend lines, even as we roll out the next sort of 600-700 stores, like even all that taken into account, the numbers of people buying, the relative dollars they're spending on, where they're buying it, how they're buying it, what they're buying, all those things, the trend lines are in the right direction. And, you know, there's lots to learn and lots to do, but the opportunity from your perspective, and I think mine too, is it's still there for retailers.
Yeah, there's plenty of room to grow. And yeah, we hope we're only at 52% of the market.
That's right.
That we're just halfway there.
Right. And I'm not sure we'll ever get to 100. I mean, I'm not even sure in places like Colorado certainly hasn't, but the closer we get, you know, that number will move up from 52%. The more stores there are, the more market share there is, because it's the ease of access, the cost, and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, David Wasserman, this has been great. A great first touch for your first time on BofC Live, and we appreciate you having. We also appreciate your microphone, your backdrop. We'd like to give props to anybody who's given thought to it, aside from us in our basement. So thank you, David Wasserman from the CannDelta team. We will connect with you down the road, and thanks for sharing today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Our work is made possible with the ongoing support of our official partners, including Cannabis at Work, Cannabis Benchmarks, CannDelta, Gallagher, and Torque & Mains.